I commend you for running for public office. It's always a big challenge, and I'm glad you're willing to do that.
Thank you.
Maybe I'll do an introduction first. So I'm Michael Dalby. I'm the president and CEO of the Chamber. And then Jenna Bazzacco Forrester is our director for government relations. So all things government policy, public policy that she heads up. You're probably familiar generally with the Chamber, about a 1,200 member organization of businesses representing about 40,000 employees here in Collier County. And so a lot of businesses, a lot of employment. And that's what we stand for, is kind of working as a voice of the business community and for the economic opportunity here within the region.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I will let Jenna ask some questions, and certainly we'll like I said, we'll record this, we'll post it out to our membership so they're aware of how you're standing on various issues. So again, thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
Hey Mark, we're gonna get started with a nice and easy one. Would you just mind telling us a little about yourself and maybe a little bit why you decided to run?
Okay. Well, you know who I am. Got the introduction out of the way. But one of the reasons I'm running is because I've seen recently, and I could give examples later on, we could talk about some wasteful spending that I think the commissioners do and the county does. I'm very strong conservative when it comes to using other people's money. My background is back in the 70s when Vietnam was winding down. A lot of us guys getting out of the Air Force, the military and stuff, the Xeroxes and IBMs and 3Ms were hiring a lot of people because of our technical training. I started at Xerox while working my way up the corporate ladder. I was raising a family outside of Philly, taking the train downtown every day, going to Drexel University at night, working late at nights and weekends. I don't know if I could do it now, but that's what I did back then. But I always remember my boss telling me, and I don't know what my project was that I was working on, but I do remember his advice he gave me. And he said, you know, Batch, if the only tool you have in your toolbox is a hammer, all your problems are going to look like a nail. And it kind of stuck in my head forever. And what's in my toolbox to do this job as a commissioner are the things that I have, my experiences, such as profit and loss, legal issues. I've worked the commercial buildings we bought, personnel, hundreds of people I managed, the contracts and contractors. I wrote requests for proposals, RFPs, I'm sure you know that word. Mm-hmm. And I've had success and failures, and I've learned from my failures over these 30, 40 years in the business world. You tie that in with my education and training from Xerox, which was known as one of the best companies in the world, at least in the 70s and 80s. It's been a while, as one of the top training companies in the world. So they're the kind of skills I can bring into that commissioner's office that I feel is sorely, sorely needed right now.
You mentioned wasteful spending. Is that sort of what prompted you to run, and what were some of the issues that concerned?
Well, I'll give you an example. I believe the county purchasing a couple of properties recently. I'll give you the names of the H&H Ranch out in the eastern part of the county for $10 million. We're buying, these are approved to purchase. They haven't wrote a check for them yet. The property at the corner of Bayshore and Thomason for $2.8 million. And they always seem to have the reason it's good for the environment or it's good for business. But my belief is strongly that the county has no business buying property and get involved in business. To be involved in business, they should help, assist, inform, give tax credits, zoning help. Buying property, I'm just against it. And not only that, when I buy property, when you and I buy our homes, we negotiate. If someone asks me $2.8 million, I'm not giving you $2.8 million. I'm going to offer you $1 million, and then we'll negotiate. That's the problems that I see that bother me. And I could give you other examples, but they're recent, and they're the things that I'm 180 degrees against the feeling of most of the commissioners. I know Commissioner McDaniel opposed the sale of the purchase of the property on Bayshore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think the most pressing issue facing the county in the next 5 years is going to be, and what would you do if elected to address it?
Well, one of the issues, especially, and it's obvious, is there's not a lot. The only part of the county that has a lot of growth to happen, in other words, empty land, is the eastern part of the county, and in District 1, all the way down to almost Everglades City for right now. So if you go down, 41 and cross over 951 heading towards Miami, you got a lot of empty land and a lot of things and opportunities are going to happen. There's a way of encouraging the proper businesses and good businesses, and even soliciting higher end businesses and stores and markets to come to our area other than our storage units and auto parts stores. The other part is, I really think I don't know if I'm getting off on a tangent, but I do believe that a couple of the taxes, such as the conservation Collier, which is coming up on the November ballot, either needs to be no or needs to be reformed. But maybe you're probably going to get into the tax thing later. But I think it's a major issue in the county that I would like to, be a part of and discuss, because I think there is some. We'll go back to the wasteful spending on that too. So they're two of the major issues I see as having the proper growth here, not just anything a builder or somebody wants to do. We have to be smart about it and tie it in with the environment.
Yeah.
I think
you mentioned the taxes. How would you reform or change some of those tax programs that are out there? For example, Conservation Collier.
Well, Conservation Collier, when it comes up on the ballot, there's two things that's going to happen. It's going to be written in a way that no one understands what they're voting for. I already could see that coming. And I think calling it Conservation Collier doesn't mean it's conservation. I think we're still buying properties in the name of conservation and the environment, and I don't believe that they are. If I were on the commission, I would vote not to have it on the ballot. I think it should go away. But if it stays, I think we need to reform it and have stronger people at a commission to manage this money. And there is, but I think we may need people like realtors and other business people, and then we have a couple environmental people on there already, to really see where this money's going, because I just don't like spending $1 million, $2 million, $10 million just because somebody tells me it's good for the environment. That's the problem I have with it. Mm-hmm. So if it is the way it is right now, I'm just opposed to taxes all the time, just opposed to it. And I've always noticed governments, local, state, federal, the less intrusive they are in our lives, the better off we all are. I feel strongly about that.
Yeah. Yeah. You mentioned a little bit about the growth and diversifying the types of businesses that come out to eastern part of the county. We're so heavily dependent here on tourism and hospitality industry, and we're really noticing it now with the COVID-19 outbreak, the impact it has on our economy. Could you talk a little bit about what you would do to sort of encourage economic diversification throughout our community? So including in these parts of Eastern Collier and District 1.
Well, I remember when I was at Xerox and other corporations, I remember we were contacted by some cities and governments to say, hey, can you put your place here? Have your business growth here? I think the county really needs to get into some type of marketing Naples. We would love to see an Arthrex down here. We do have some corporations. I know it's tourist world. That's always going to be our business. People want to come here for the beach and the water and the boating and everything else. I'm all for it because that's why I live here. But at the same time, it would be nice to tie that in with some industry, light industry, like an Arthrex, where we can encourage people to come down and maybe provide land or zoning or differences to help them. But I've even seen videos out there for some cities to encourage people to come to their cities to grow their business. I mean, Florida's a great place to grow business. The state of Florida does it. They go to corporations throughout this country and the world to try to sell the state of Florida because of our low taxes. So I think Naples, without spending a ton of money, can kind of do the same thing.
And what kind of, you mentioned earlier, but can you maybe elaborate it beyond the marketing, what sort of, dare I say, incentives or things the county can, in your opinion, can do to get more businesses down here or industries?
I think we can take temporarily the 1% sales tax away for a while. I think we can help with some zoning laws that fit their business a little bit better, depending what kind of business this is in some of these lands. And we have some land we could probably sell that we bought from Conservation Collier. If it's the right kind of property that can fit into us environmentally, it could benefit us all. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to pretty much get hotels and our standard condos and gated communities just because we're a part-time residents here. Probably have 30-40% part-time residents. I'm certain of that. I don't really know the real number. I remember saying it, but I don't want to repeat a fact that's not there, but it's pretty high. Except right now, nobody's leaving. But there's a lot of things you can do. One of it, it's always money. It's always tax. So that would be a start.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What do you think, Michael mentioned we are a business association. We represent 1,200 members. So what do you think the most pressing issue is for the business community right now? And what steps would you take to address that?
Well, I think our state and the country was virtually destroyed our business environment with the COVID-19. Right or wrong, I'm not going to argue either side, but they destroyed a lot of businesses, especially here in, I call, our vacation land. I mean, we have tons of hotels and restaurants, and I know some small restaurant owners in Naples. I know quite a few of them, and they're hurting, and some of them are just struggling to see how they can come back. So we can encourage them again by, maybe give them a little break on that sales tax, the 1%, or some other type of incentives, there's a lot of different things we can do, but anything I would ask them, I've often said this, have a committee or your group come to the county and saying, hey, we just talked to 100 business owners, commissioners, what can you guys do for us and you ladies do for us to help our business along? So if that's lending money to get through some high rentals, some of these rentals downtown are $15,000, $25,000 a month rentals. There's things we can do. So low interest loans. There's money. There's cash in Collier County. There's a lot of money around. We're going to be getting, I'm certain, millions and millions of this COVID-19 money from the feds. That's a fact. So if that's what it's for, then that's what we should use it for, to help those people that got hurt. And it's almost everybody.
Yeah. Okay, great. We have identified several public policy priorities over the past couple of years. And what's really always ranked sort of tops on our list is access to housing that is affordable for our county's workforce. It's something that always comes up when we talk to our employers and our members that they are concerned about. And so we regularly support efforts to expand workforce housing throughout the county. What role do you think the county has in encouraging this type of development, workforce housing, and what would you like to see done in that arena?
Well, there's a couple of things, and I feel strongly about them too. One is, a lot of times when you say workforce housing, affordable housing, there's, depending where you came from, like I came from Philly, we always think Section 8, low income, and it scares a ton of people. So if you come from the big cities like me, we go, oh no, no way. But we got a lot of great people that work for our sheriff's department, and our workers, electricians, and plumbers. They deserve a place to live too. I have a couple ideas, and one of them, I want to know why we have the highest impact fees in the state of Florida. I would like to see the commissioners perform a study. Now, I've already gotten the answers where I could go online, I find out where all the money goes. I get it. I get it. But why are we double of Charlotte County or higher than Lee County? I mean, the streets aren't in the schools, and our police are not, that the sheriff's office are not much different structurally or anything else than anybody else. A lot of these impact fees are taking the guy and lady with their family and just squeezing them out of the affordable range. An example is our own daughter and son-in-law, when they were buying a home here with 2 kids in the public school system, you know, a lot of these communities, it squeezes them out when you do the impact fees into that. It does drive up the price of the home. I would like to propose that I would like to see neighborhoods built. A lot of these communities are built for investors, not for full-time homeowners. Example, my wife and I, when we live here near Royal Palm Country Club down in Lady, and we wanted a community because of our personal preference with no gates, no amenities, no nothing. We just wanted a house. But there's probably tens of thousands of people here in Naples that want the same thing. And if we keep building them for investors, and I get it, I'm all pro-business. I like people to make money, you know, so that's a wonderful thing. But we can encourage builders to build the neighborhoods that you and I grew up in. You know, well, I'll say I grew up in, I don't know where you grew up, but in Philadelphia, the suburbs. The only time I ever ran into a gated community is when I moved down here to Florida. I never saw them before, I have to be honest with you. And so if we could build more neighborhoods, it makes them more affordable for people making a nice income. I mean, the people I'm talking about, you know, I don't want to give away my daughter and son-in-law's income, but somebody not making 100 and some thousand a year can't afford to buy a home. It's pretty sad.
Yeah.
So, and I think just by encouragement, I don't want to get involved in reimbursement and paying and some difficult schedule about, you know, hand in your W-2, see how much you made, what was your last year's income tax. You know, it's too much control, too confusing, and it's too easy to cheat too when you get into that type of thing. So, but if we could just build certain areas, and the builder makes out, they'll still make money. But if he can be encouraged by, on some of these cases of saying, look, I'm thinking out of the box. I'm just saying, if I were king, this is what I would do. Lower those impact fees. Encourage the builders with the lower impact fees to build different types of neighborhoods. The 2 to 3 bedroom, 1,500 to 2,000 square feet, a couple bathrooms type of home, no pool, no gates, no nothing. A nice neighborhood for the kids to grow up in. It would work. I know it would work.
Yeah, yeah. And that sort of income range in which you were talking about, that's similar to the types of income range we sometimes talk about as well. We consider it gap housing, and that's really important to our workforce.
Yeah.
You know, we are part of the Southwest Florida Alliance of Chambers, which represents 6,000 members in Collier and Lee counties. And we were formed in 2018 as part of response to the water crisis. So water quality is obviously so important for us because it impacts our businesses. What steps as a county commissioner do you think the county should be taking to improve our region's water quality and Collier County's water quality?
Well, there's a couple of things. As a boater and fisherman and a kayaker down here for years, you know, my wife and I, we've been to Key Wade Island, all that about 100 times. So we love the clean water, and it's important. And we are doing some things. I don't think it's enough. And I know some people say this is minor, why you're wasting your time with it, but we're not really pushing the Florida friendly landscaping enough. I think even is us as a county properties, medium strips. A lot of people, and I had people argue with me, and I like that because they said, "Hey, Mark, you're talking about nickels and dimes in small areas." I said, "Well, let's set an example. Why do we have to have irrigation and fertilizer and lawn cutting on these mediums and county property? Let's be a leader, and let's use our own." What we preach is the Florida-friendly landscaping. And a lot of people go, "Oh, it's rocks and sand," and no, it's absolutely not rocks and sand and stuff. It's actually very attractive. I try to put some of it in my own property, the grassy looks and stuff like that, so to save me work in the yard. So I think there's things that we can do to be a leader, not only in the county but in the state, to say, hey, they're really ahead of the game here because they put fertilizer on these medium strips too. I see them do it. And it costs money, millions of dollars to maintain these properties, and even our county properties that we own, the buildings we maintain. I think we could make, I know there's small steps, but it's a start. And also if the builders need to have, we have some restrictions on the environmental with some of the builders, but I've been in all these communities, all of them, and their landscaping is lush, and there's a lot of room, acres of room in each of these communities for Florida-friendly landscaping. And I think it could be pushed a little harder. I don't necessarily like new laws and rules and all that, but it may come to that. If we're really serious about clean water, I know one landscaper does my one property. It was, I think it was about, I forget how many acres, about 20 acres. But anyway, I said, how much fertilizer do you put a year on that property? And he was talking like 10 tons of fertilizer in just an acre. So, and I'm going, holy smokes, this all washes down into the storm sewers and always out into the Gulf of Mexico. And the nitrogen levels, the phosphorus levels, and all our bays and reserve waters are all high, especially this time of year, it's washing. So some of the small things, but they can lead to big things to start.
Right. I just have a couple more questions, but Michael, did you want to jump in, and did you have anything that came up?
No, I appreciate it. Good information, and thank you for your time doing this. Maybe just to close, I'm sure there are things that we probably haven't talked about. You may want to address, but is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with in doing this interview?
Well, one thing I want to leave you with, and when I talk to everybody, I think with the serious issues that we're facing in the county, when you're talking about the environment, you're talking about clean water, you're talking about taxes, wasteful spending, you really need someone with the strong business skills and background that tackled a lot of these issues and can look at the other side of the equation when it comes to making money and losing money. I know the county doesn't make money, but they sure spend money like they're not making money, that's for sure. So I really think somebody like with my background and experiences in education, I really think I can make a difference, and I'm passionate about it because I just don't like what's going on. So I'll close with that.
Great.
Well, thank you. Thank you again. Appreciate that. And good luck with your campaign. And I'm sure we'll run into you along the way.
I hope so. And thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you.
You have a great day. Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.